Oh, listen to that lovely music. That means one thing and one thing only. It is time to reopen the Media Tavern. Welcome back, everybody. This is the Media Tavern where me, Eric Oblander, and that guy, Todd Stanton, hang out and talk about whatever is coming into our faces and into our ears and stuff we like to talk about. So welcome to the show. Todd, how are you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing good. We're recording this on a Sunday, which we normally don't. We do it like Friday, and
yeah, we usually meet up at church on Sunday, and have breakfast.
Is that where we met? That's where we're recording from right now. Nobody's here.
Yeah,
Weird. No, doing good. How are you?
I'm good, man. Super Bowl Sunday, getting ready to eat way too much, and have a bunch of friends come over and have a couple Media Tavern libations. And hey, before we get started, I want to just let people know where they can find us. Please feel free to email us at themediatavern@gmail.com with any of your ideas for a show, any ideas for anything you think out there. We're willing to listen. Also, you can follow us on all the socials at the Media Tavern.
We're everywhere.
Yeah, we're pretty much everywhere. And please come out, follow the pod wherever you want. Join us. It's a lot of fun. So that I just wanted to get that little bit of housekeeping out of the way because sometimes I forget and do it a little too late.
Oh, good. Well, yeah, I mean, and I see that we have many reoccurring people that wind up listening to it. So
yeah, we're getting a small but mighty listener base out there, and keep it up, everybody.
So
we'll keep cranking them out if you guys keep enjoying. So, and tell a friend, and do whatever.
First things first, what's on your shirt?
This is a Toledo rock and roll shirt.
That guitar pick.
My buddy at Crutchwear makes. Chad makes. Pretty much everybody in a band in Toledo has one of these shirts, and you can see them pretty much anywhere.
My shirt today. This is my Lost in Space shirt.
That is a cool shirt, dude. Oh, wait, and I'm going to tell you something right now. I know why that shirt is extra cool.
Because
you have a giant life-size robot.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, so, I got this when I was building it. It was just kind of like...
So, again, for those of you who don't know, Todd is like a crazy genius when it comes to things like the 3D printer. And that thing behind you that you see if you're watching us on the video pod is a life-sized Boba Fett action figure in life-size form that he made on the 3D printer. But he also
came off that.
Yeah, and he also has built a what's the robot in Lost in Space?
B9. He's referred to as a B9 robot.
He has a full-sized, and I mean like not like taller than me, like robot, and he has it connected to where it has the voice, and it does all sorts of stuff you tell it to say, and it lights up. His house is like a amusement park. It's amazing.
Yeah, people call it a museum.
It is.
Trying to hide some of it so it isn't so like over the top when you go into the living room anymore. But one of the cool things about the robot now, and I've been looking for this for about a year and a half now, is the advancement in AI, and now I can actually create custom sentences with that guy's voice. By all you do is upload a couple of sound bites of what that guy has sounded like before, and you can type your own sentence. Before you couldn't do that. There was already like pre-programmed ones already out there, like Samuel L. Jackson or Morgan Freeman or Arnold Schwarzenegger. You couldn't upload someone else's voice. So, I mean, it's cool and scary at the same time.
Yeah. That's a good way to describe it.
So,
yeah, it's pretty cool, man. I mean, we can have a larger discussion about AI in general because you kind of turned me onto that chat GPT thing.
Yeah.
And we sort of cheated and used that for we've incorporated that in our show even.
Yeah.
When we're like, I need a blurb about the next episode. You know what to do. Upload it to...
Just hop on over there.
Yeah, I mean...
My brother uses it all the time now, and his wife uses it all the time for their businesses. So it's just weird.
Completely crazy. It's wild. Yeah, that's some incredible stuff. But that thing with the custom sentences that the robot says is... You showed me that the other day. It's so cool.
It's just... It's entering a new territory of copyright infringement, right? And how can that even fall under old copyright, laws? Because who would have thought we could do this?
Well, this brings up a thing too. Like, my wife is an English teacher. Okay. She works at a local community college, and there, like if she were to ever suspect that someone plagiarized a paper, there's a way that for years that you've been able to like upload it to this website, and it'll like go through and it'll say, yeah, this sentence matches this, and this is probably plagiarized. But now you're getting something that like spits out a brand new, never read before paper or content of some kind. And how are you going to test it? How are you going to, there's nothing, it's brand new. Like,
and the thing is it doesn't do the same thing twice. So you can ask it to write me a review on this subject, and it'll spit one out. And then you can ask it the exact same thing, and it'll spit out something that wasn't even close to the first one. So it's like, it opens up a lot of a larger discussion about a lot of things when it comes to where does the creation process start, and what is creativity anymore? You know what I mean? It's wild. And it cheapens things, actually. The whole thing with music these days, they've gone as far as created AI to spit out original music. For you tell it a genre, you tell it what you want it to be about, and it'll spit out a song like it wrote it. They even have voices now that will sing. So, I mean, you were really cheapening the art, when it comes to that. Because, how can you... There's going to be some people that are going to be really into it, and then there's going to be others that are going to be like, but it's not real, So...
Yeah, I mean, it makes you wonder, like, my kid listens to, pop radio all the time because he's like, he's 12. And I wonder how much of it is like made by a computer, and the person that supposedly made it is generated AI character that isn't real.
Exactly.
Like, what am I listening to here? Like,
I just did. You said AI character. There is a company called Synthesia, however you say it, and you'll have to check it out. Not that they're sponsoring this show whatsoever, but
no free ads.
No free ads is I'm actually using it for a proof of concept idea with a client, and I'm having the person be a spokesman. And I just type in the sentence, and it has natural body movements, then facial movements. I mean, it's freaky, freaky.
Too creepy.
Yeah.
All right. Well, speaking of freaky, and speaking of spitting stuff out. I think we should get to our, speaking of spitting, that's a tough sentence to say.
It is.
I think we should get to our, the task at hand here today, which is discussing a movie that both you and I have seen in the theater and at home, and a movie that came out a little while ago, so it's not super hot off the presses, but I think it was worth kind of visiting again since it's sort of recently popped up on streaming. And I think also we don't have to do brand new stuff all the time in this show. There's room for all sorts of discussion. So today we are talking about Jordan Peele's masterpiece, in my mind, the movie called Nope.
Nope.
Yeah, no, we are.
Nope.
No, we are.
I'm here all week.
Well, we're going to do this, be like dad jokes corner. So we're going to talk about Nope today. And then we're going to go visit our corners, talk about that stuff, and then kick you guys out of here. So, all right. So, let's get to the thing here and talk about Nope. And we're going to kind of give you, I think most people who are listening to this, if you haven't seen it, first of all, major spoilers on the way. Feel free to fast forward ahead about half an hour. Find us at our quarters if you don't want to know stuff that happens in the movie Nope.
Yeah, I mean, I think our show is more of not so much reviewing movies in the sense of, we don't want to give away anything. We're going to give away stuff. And our show is about our opinions of those, movies that we
review. Our takeaways are like what we kind of parsed out of the stuff.
Yeah,
and also just...
You may agree with them, you don't, but it's just that kind of thing.
So, starting out the movie, we've got, there's a very harrowing sequence that we'll get into later. But the overview of the, kind of the movie is that, there's a brother and sister team, Daniel, Kaluuya and, Kaluuya, Daniel Kaluuya, and Keke Palmer, who play OJ and M, and they're the kids of a very famous horse handler who has started years back had started a Hollywood horse wrangling company called Haywood Hollywood Horses.
Yep.
And essentially what happens is the company is the father dies in a crazy accident, and something falls from the sky mysteriously, impales him in the head, and takes him out of the picture. So we kind of flash forward 6 months later, and the company is sort of falling apart, and the brother and sister are kind of desperate. They've been selling off the horses. They've been trying to figure out what to do. Suddenly, on the ranch, in the sky, they discover some kind of mysterious thing living in the clouds, and they decide, we are going to get a picture of this and make a ton of money off documenting this crazy thing that's flying around in the sky. Then they enlist some help of some other people. They kind of try to get the documentation of this. Things kind of work, things kind of don't. And at the end of the day, they sort of get the documentation, but at what cost, I ask you? And it turns out, this is the big spoiler alert, of course, that it's not in fact a UFO living in the skies above, but in fact a large creature, like a disc kind of, looks almost like a ray, like a giant manta ray with a huge mouth that's going around sucking up people around the area in California there. And essentially that is, without going too much into the other stuff, there's an important subplot that has to do with Stephen Yeun's character, who is Ricky Park, who owns a giant amusement park down the street, who's buying all the horses, and his whole character arc also happens during this movie. But essentially that's where we're at. That's what we're dealing with. What do you think about the movie? Like, overall, what are your thoughts there, Don?
Well, you said it was a masterpiece. I like Jordan Peele. I mean, when I first saw his first film, Get Out, I just thought that was a great, I still think it's a great film. It's super scary, kind of Twilight Zone-y. I guess he always wanted to do like Twilight Zone type, movies. And then he got to do the Twilight Zone, the new version of it over the last couple of years. Some of those I liked, some of them I didn't care for at all. But I enjoyed that there's somebody out there carrying the torch, for these kinds of twisty, mysterious films. Much like, I mean, his name is kind of crapped on anymore, but M. Night. I mean, I like a lot of M. Night's films, and
I think Knock at the Cabin seems to be getting people back into the M. Night stock.
Yeah, well, I mean, not the last one. I didn't like the one where all the people at the beach, but
Old.
Yeah, Old. But I did like the one with the kids, the Visit, I think.
Yeah.
Something like it. Anyways, it's nice that someone like Jordan Peele is out there doing these kinds of films, even alongside M. Night, because it seems like it takes forever for an M. Night film to come out, and then it's either hit or miss, so, and I really liked, I think Us, is that the second Jordan Peele film? I enjoyed that. It didn't thrill me as much as the first one, but, I enjoyed it nonetheless. This one I was really, really excited about when I saw it advertised. I like the idea of a UFO type story invading, and it's mysterious and not seeing creatures like the original War of the Worlds way back. You didn't see the creature, for the longest time, and when you do, it's real off-putting. And even when Spielberg redid the movie, I liked War of the Worlds a lot. I just didn't like seeing the creatures. It took some of the mystery out of it, and so my phone is going off here. So this film, I was very excited about because of that whole theme. But I did find it a little bit puzzling when I first saw it. And my son, who was probably 11 at the time, and he's a pretty mature kid. He's seen a lot of mature films. He thought it was puzzling. My older son, who was in his mid-20s, he didn't care for it either. So I was like, okay, I got my pack here. You know, they're with me on this. But my wife really enjoyed it. Now, my wife is notorious for enjoying pretty much any film you see. It doesn't matter what it is. She rarely says she doesn't like a film. So, but she explained some of the things to me that I didn't get, you know, watching the film, you know, and you know how much I love that stuff. So I don't know. I watched it again in preparation for this podcast, and I still have like kind of the same issues with the film. I'm not as excited about it as I hoped I would have been, and it's certainly nowhere near when you say the word masterpiece that like Jordan Peele's first film was to me. Like I walk away with at the end. But I'll toss the ball back to you. There's my old man negativity, and let's hear what you have to say.
Well, yeah, I mean, to me, first and foremost, I think he does the best idea of hiding the ball when it comes to revealing the character or the creature that I've seen maybe ever.
Yeah.
And other than maybe like something like Alien or something where it's like, I mean, it's just so well done. But also there are a lot of, like when I saw this movie the first time, I went with a friend of mine, and when I left the theater, I was like, oh, okay. And then I kept thinking about it, to the point where I actually called him on the way home, and I'm like, what was the deal with blah? What was the deal with blah? What?
Yeah,
and he was like, well, here, man. My friend is like a movie. He's a very smart guy when it comes to, you know, breaking stuff down. And he kind of gave me some explanations of stuff that I was like, oh yeah, okay. So then when I rewatched it, I kind of had that in the back of my mind. I think there's a lot of themes going on. Well, I think there's like 3 or 4 strong themes that are like shown in this movie through the storytelling, but not necessarily just handed to you on a silver platter. And you can take it for what it's worth, as this is just a sci-fi movie. You know, like a kind of a Western meets sci-fi movie, or you can take it as something more. I don't really necessarily think that you come away with a different liking of the movie. If you want to read a little more into it, you can, but on the surface, it's pretty much a cool monster movie, you know, and you don't get a lot of those anymore. So
true. I mean, I love monster movies. That's probably my favorite, you know, genre of movies, if they're done well, and they're not always done good anymore.
Well, I think what you said is true. Like a lot of times there's like we have like a problem with the monster. Either the monster is not that great, or they show it too early, or they show it too late, or they don't show it enough. They show it too much. There's not a good recipe for a good balance.
That's the part of a good scary movie is not, I mean, not knowing what's around the corner, you know?
Yeah.
If you see what's around the corner, then it's like, oh, okay. It's not that bad.
Right. Or if you've seen it already and you're kind of like, okay.
Yeah, I mean, you know what it looks like or what's configured. I mean, even, you know, like the movie Alien, which to me is the greatest monster movie ever, it's a dark house ride. You know, you go, you don't know what's around the corner, and you do see the alien, but it changes. You know, it was an egg before, then it was a thing on your face, and it's a worm that pops out of you, and then it's this huge beast with 2 sets of teeth. Did I just actually see that? And you don't really ever see the monster until the very, very, very end, and even then you see him so fast, like I don't even know what I just looked at.
And it's weird though, because like in the sequel, it's just all xenomorphs everywhere, but it's still awesome. Yeah. Like, so I think it really depends on the storytelling almost more than anything else.
Yeah, well, because to me, the second one is more of like an action film, not so much a monster movie, but great, you know, nonetheless.
So I think that there's a couple things that I wrestled with at first that I kind of landed on later, and that was I think one of the big themes of this movie is, and especially with Steven Yeun's character, is there's like this thought that like you really shouldn't and you really can't tame nature. And when you try to tame nature, it's going to end up blowing up in your face no matter what. So, you know, you have this thing like with Steven Yeun when he was a kid, when he was Ricky as a kid on the set of the TV show, and the chimp goes completely crazy because that balloon pops. You're really not supposed to try to like have a live chimp on a TV show. And if you do and things go wrong, it's kind of, sorry, bud. And I think that when he ends up, you know, again, we're going to get into spoiler territory as we've probably already figured out.
Just do it.
But when he eventually kind of wrangles this creature, he's aware of it being a creature. He knows that it lives in the sky, and he is now taking this creature and making money off of it in the same way that they were doing with this chimp back in the day. And on the TV show he was on, that he actually has like a whole museum about, and now he has sort of become the kind of the guy trying to tame nature. And as we all know, it doesn't work out because he gets sucked up into the guts of the monster. But
and I think that's what was going on there, was because of he made that connection with the chimpanzee that, you know, it almost made him feel empowered that he could tame, or he had some kind of special power over, you know, wild.
Well, he looked it in the eye, and he knew, you know, he kind of like they were friends. Yeah.
Yeah. So Steven Yeun, the character, may have thought, well, hey, maybe there's something special about me, you know, that the chimp didn't go after me, and that this thing keeps, you know, coming back every time. And it's like, yeah, I'm making friends with him kind of thing.
Yeah. Like he has like this in his mind, he may have this thing. Yeah. I think another, you know, like topic that kind of comes up in this movie that, and that one we can circle back to because I think it's important, but I think one of the things also they talk about is when they introduced the Haywood, Hollywood horses on set of that, of the commercial that they're filming, and Keke Palmer shows up and she talks about the history of the first ever documented film ever made was a film of an African-American guy riding a horse. And that guy ended up being the first movie star. And I think that kind of comes in almost mirrored so you've got what eventually became a marginalized like segment of Hollywood. I mean, people of color are just not equally represented in movies. I mean, that's just not really debatable. That's why we're talking about the extreme, you know, rarity of like a Jordan Peele in Hollywood. But so then when they go to film this creature, they almost are doing the same thing. They're like taking this, they're exploiting almost this creature for profit. So kind of another look at it.
Yeah. Okay.
In the way that like that people of color were taken, even though they did the first film, they ended up kind of having that all stripped away from them. Similar idea comes in with this, where they're sort of treating this animal almost like this creature that they know nothing about as like a cash cow.
That's one thing I had a problem with the movie, is I felt like that we're ignoring the fact that this thing is dangerous. Like, it became more of an obsession on all of their part, that I was hoping one of them would be like, it's not worth it. You know, it's not worth, you know, sacrificing our lives for. I mean, right up at the end, I mean, the girl is all worried about getting this picture. And I'm like,
well, and that's the other, I think the final or the other big tenet of this movie is the power of capturing images that have never been captured before, or that can, you know, that are rare, or just the importance and the power of documentation and care, you know. So you've got Antlers, the filmmaker guy, who gets this footage with the non-electrical camera, and you've got her, you've got him getting the picture of the monster in the well. You've got the video of the, you know, the original film that's made of the guy riding the horse. There's a very high premium in this movie put on documenting things on film and images.
I just didn't feel like that made a whole lot of sense versus their lives, like, and I don't know, it just felt off to me on that level, where like that became too much of an obsession versus, people are dying. They're close, their little close net band of, their little gang there, and a couple of them, the one guy dies. Sorry, two guys dies, and then she thinks the brother it also dies too. I just think it would, if it was a real story, and I know it's not a real story, but if it was a real thing, I don't know if they would, if somebody be that obsessed at that point when they start losing people, I don't know.
Well, yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying. I think though that you got to make a movie. You got to write something. You can't just be like, run away, the end.
Let's take Alien, and all of a sudden Ripley's, big obsession is, we got to get a photo of this thing versus,
Well, no, but she doesn't have proof that it exists, and they don't think it's real, and they don't think it happened.
Yeah, in the second one.
But I mean, it's a thing. But I think that like it goes from trying to get a picture of it to it turns into kind of like a war when it starts sucking up all the decoys, and
no doubt.
And like it's over the house, raining blood all over him.
Which I didn't understand that either. What was that? What was that all about?
It's just kind of hanging out, man. It's like floating around, and it's got all this blood.
Why is it vomit all over the?
Well, because it sucked up all the stuff that's like it can't digest. Because that's another theme.
Though, why didn't it do it out in the fields?
Well, I think it's probably like sharing its misery, or I mean, it's a living creature, so it's coming to either scare them or show them what's up. Or
I didn't buy it. Sorry,
it's a giant monster in the sky. What's to buy?
I get it. I know. It's a monster. I don't think a monster is going to go and vomit on somebody's house and then like.
By nature, that sentence sounds insane. The nature of that sentence, that's like saying this imaginary thing won't ever be real.
And let's take Alien. I don't think Alien's going to come over and walk over and then vomit on somebody's house and then walk away. I mean, just like, I'm not.
Then I think that is a strange thing to fixate on in a movie, but okay. And
I'm not a fixator. I'm just saying I didn't understand it. I mean, there's a bunch of things in the movie I didn't.
And that's another kind of theme of this movie too, is
vomiting
like
on houses.
Yes, and how like humans have kind of messed up society, or not society, like the ecosystem, so that this natural creature sucks up all this plastic stuff and it destroys them, even though it's like super like powerful creature, like it spits out all the keys and coins and the plastic gets stuck in it. So we kind of are a plague on the world. Sometimes people think, humans, that is.
Yeah. Okay. I don't. I mean, yeah. All right. No, I mean, I see your point. I mean, because it's like,
basically like whales that or like 6-pack rings that you throw in the ocean.
Yeah. That
end up getting wrapped around a turtle. Same kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, some things are digestible and some things aren't. So that's, and what it did, I didn't take that to be so much a message, as it was that the thing was unable to digest, and you didn't understand what that meant because you thought it was a UFO. You didn't,
right.
You didn't know it was a creature.
Yeah, that's kind of the twist, right?
So it's like, why is this UFO, getting rid of stuff that we, like coins and all that kind of stuff that we would want to have? Why is it getting? And then you're like, something's off with that. It's right. Not, because they don't give you that information right away. I mean, Steven Yeun's character is acting like he's got control over or some kind of connection with this quote unquote UFO, but did he even know it was a creature? Maybe he did. Was hard to tell.
I'm pretty sure he did, because he was offering it up horses to eat.
Yeah, but did he think it was a UFO? You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, that part.
Not necessarily because whatever it does at the end there, it turns into this weird looking flower thing. Like,
yeah,
I didn't get that either. But That's me. Todd doesn't get films all the time, so
that's a good thing we have a film podcast then. Break it down for people who don't understand what the hell's going on. No, I get it.
I'm just telling you.
It's not a
film I would not show my brother because my brother gets more confused on stuff than I do. I mean, he loves films like I do, but he would be like, I don't know. I don't get it. So this podcast is about, that we don't always see eye-to-eye films, and I don't think everybody seeing this film is going to be blown away by it,
Well, no, and that's the thing. There's another thing to this, which is some people may totally get it and still think it's not great, or understand all of it and just think it's a bunch of, like pontification and too much like, messaging and stuff like that. But I thought the whole message combined with some of the coolest cinematography and like super weird, cool special effects just to me made it like one of my favorite movies of at least of the last 5 years that I've seen. So I really dug it a lot.
I did think a lot of it was done really, really well. I mean, Jordan Peele knows what he's doing. He knows what he is afraid of. He knows what can be fearsome to other people. I mean, like when you have that one scene where our lead character Daniel goes into or what's the character's name?
OJ.
When OJ goes into the barn or whatever it is.
Oh yeah, man. I was going to talk about that.
And I just thought that's super creepy, man. Like
so, and that brings me to something I was going to talk about. That scene is phenomenal, and that is one of those scenes that when I was in the movie theater and that happened, people were freaking out when like that camera when he comes in and that alien like tips.
Yeah.
Well, it turns out to be a kid in a mask, but like slow. Pokes its little teeny, and you don't really see it because it's such a wide shot. Yeah. And then there's this little dinky alien head pops out.
Yeah. Man,
people in the theater were like started freaking out. And then turns out that one is hanging there and he punches it and it's just a bunch of kids being jerks. It was like, that was like a great, because you and I talk about this sometimes, but that was a great, like, other people in a theater with me experience. Like, the whole place was like,
yeah,
like, I hadn't had that in a long time.
Yeah, that's cool. I think we saw it on a Sunday afternoon, so there wasn't anybody around.
Yeah, there was a pretty good crowd. We saw opening night, and it was pretty packed, and that was cool.
That scene is so great, and it's because it's things that they don't do in monster movies much anymore. Today's monster movies always have to be the monster is very fast, and like we talked earlier, it's right in your face, or it's where we can see too much of it, or we're doing jump scares all the time, and there's just too much of actually I can watch some scary movies now, newer ones, and jump scares don't even scare me because it's going to happen in the next 3 seconds. It's just like it's so formulated. But But this was the creatures moving very slow. I mean, or perceived creatures moving very, very slow. And the slowness and their silhouette, it was the creepy part because it's like all of a sudden there's a lion in your living room. If he's moving slow, that's going to scare the crap out of you because you're like, he's going to move fast in a second,
Yeah.
And it's that fear that goes on in your head is what's actually scary.
And it was such a great head fake too, because it was like not at all what this movie ends up being.
Yeah, exactly.
But when you're there and you think it's a UFO, you're like, he's gonna have this close encounter and it's gonna be crazy.
It made sense too. It wasn't like they pulled a fast one because it was the 3 kids that belonged to Steven Yeun's character. Yeah, and why were they wearing alien masks? Like I watched it the second time and I'm like, why are they wearing alien masks? I mean, of all things, it's not even like a cool looking alien mask. I mean, it's like a dopey looking thing, but they were like selling these things at their,
Head troopers claim because they're like,
I didn't get it, when I saw it. So it's like, okay, that's cool. I mean, you're not pulling a fast one. They don't like, where would you get these stupid alien masks?
Yeah.
But
I thought that was a great scene, and that was what I wanted. I'm glad you brought that up about the whole, because I watched it on my at home also, and that scene was really effective.
Yeah.
But in the theater, it was like super great.
Oh yeah. When it came into the theater, I was just like,
and I'm glad I saw that movie in the theater too, because there's so many beautiful shots of like that the desert, and like they're not the desert, but the mountain ranges and the just wide open spaces, and you'll catch a, like, I wonder, and like I love the idea of that creature hanging out in a cloud.
Yeah.
And when the tech nerd guy comes over,
he realizes the cloud has
when Angel comes over and he shows him, he's like, you don't know, and he fast forwards through it, and he's like, the one cloud is like sitting there.
Yeah.
I mean, that is so creative and
great.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I loved it. So anyway, for me, I think it might be my top 2 favorite movies of this year so far, of 22, I mean. Of 2022. I really loved it.
When did it come out?
It came out in the summer, like July.
Of 2022? Okay. Seemed like it was longer ago, but...
I know, I thought so too. I thought it came out like a year ago, but
yeah,
I remember I saw it like on 4th of July weekend or somewhere around in July.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed watching it, and I enjoyed watching it the second time too. I don't know, there's some things about it I just don't totally get. Like, how did it die? I don't even get that.
It exploded. The thing blew up inside of it.
Why?
The blimp thing, because it was like the balloon was like the big cowboy balloon.
Yeah.
It was like it ate a big balloon and it popped because the creature's only made out of like thin, like canvas almost. Which, by the way, that scene when the people get sucked up inside of it and the bones are crunching.
Yeah.
And the thing's I love the way that was rendered. How it was like really raw and just kind of like cloth. I thought that was really creepy.
I thought that, I mean, it was very low tech looking. And I was okay.
And like you realize that's the scene in the beginning that, the like opening. That's
cool. That's the thing I don't totally get, because the scene in the beginning looks like it's metallic silver. It almost looks like it looked like a tinfoil box. And then
because it's inside of it's kind of like shiny and weird, and I think they sort of just made like a collage thing.
Mm-hmm. Well,
so it's kind of like the same thing. Like why? Like there's no real answer to why when he has the flashback to the chimp attack, why the shoe is standing up.
Yeah.
Like and there's no like, oh, because it was nailed to the floor or it was hanging by a string. It's never explained, but I think the idea of that is very abstractly that it's kind of like a weird miracle that happens because he survives this attack. And it's just like this strange confluence of events. And there's not like an actual hardcore, like the shoe is, there's no real answer to it.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Good one. I like it. Unrelated to the story, I thought Keith David as the dad, he was like spot on to the OJ character. Like OJ's voice sounded so much like him. You're right. He definitely, Daniel Kaluuya and Keith David have similar voices. It was amazing.
And that was another thing I was going to talk about is Daniel Kaluuya's performance in this. Like, to me, he's one of the best actors going. Like, I loved him in Judas and the Black Messiah. I loved him, of course, in Get Out. And in this, I just think he's so, like, he's almost like a John Wayne character where he's super internalized and really, like, there's that scene where Keke Palmer, where like M figures out is living in the cloud, and she's like screaming at him like, it's living in the cloud. And she's like running, and he looks up at it, and he's like, like, he totally spots it. Like, I got you, He's just super cool, man.
Yeah,
and I just love his character in this. I love how he's just so like internalized, and every once in a while he'll pop out. Like that scene when they're like, "Didn't I tell you that he was going to bring a non-electrical camera? Come on, let's go, boy!" And they're like, "That's my favorite scene in the movie." But he just lights up in that 1 second, and he's really funny. And then he goes back to being that dour older brother, trodden, broke guy.
Compared to her, because I found her annoying.
Oh my God, she's so great. Didn't you want to hang out with her like all day?
Oh, not at all.
That's hilarious. I think she's great.
You have totally separate views on that. I found her super annoying. Like,
she's very on.
They're trying to contrast between, she's more external in the face of the business, all that kind of stuff.
It is very, that's true. It is very like black and white.
The guts of it, like he's he's the guy he's the smart one, you know, and she's more of the spaz. So you may like the movie, you may not like the movie. So if you haven't seen it, go see it. If you have seen it, you'll have to let us know what you think of Eric and I.
Yeah, let us know.
Different. Yeah.
You can add us on anywhere in the socials, or just email us. Tell us what you thought. If you have any more insights that we skipped, please feel free to hit us up. We're always open to new learning, new stuff. So,
yep.
All right, cool. Let's take a break, and then let's come right back with our corners. All right, everybody, welcome back. Let's head over to my corner. So today on my corner, Todd, I've got a show that I like a lot. I'm going to talk about the first episode of the show. It's also on Peacock. No free ads. We're not doing like a Peacock special or anything. But it happens to be that both the things, Nope, the movie Nope, is streaming on Peacock, and also this show, which a lot of people are talking about. It's called Poker Face. So this show is kind of a mystery of the week, sort of a kind of tip of the hat to like Columbo kind of show, where Natasha Lyonne plays this character who can tell when anyone is lying. Like, she has this amazing inherent superpower to be able to tell when someone is lying.
Okay.
Nothing else. Like, she's not able to like see the future or like tell you something, else that happened, but she knows when people are lying, and it kind of becomes sort of a whodunit murder mystery where she's able to tell who's full of shit and who's not, and she actually in the show calls bullshit when there's like someone, not telling the truth.
Okay.
And so the first episode has kind of an all-star cast. You've got Benjamin Bratt in there, who I think has kind of become, like, because of the Marvel movies too, has kind of gotten a new career, a new like lease on his career. And then you've got Adrian Brody's in this, and he plays Sterling Frost, who's kind of the guy who the town is named after his dad, his old man, this town in Nevada. And basically there's like a murder, and Natasha Lyonne's character figures out the murder, figures out what happens through all these crazy twists, which I don't want to spoil because it's super great. Like, you got to watch it. Huh. And then she ends up going on the run. And then from then on, it's kind of reminds me of like the Incredible Hulk TV show where like, he's just on the run, constantly going, and that's it.
Oh, like The Fugitive.
Yeah, or like The Fugitive, more probably a better example.
Gotcha.
But yeah, so I've only watched the first episode, but looking at the previews and reading some reviews, I know that it expands out of this place that it starts in Nevada, and kind of she goes on the run. But even down to the details are so great, because they don't use like old-timey film stock or anything, like, but they do. The credits look just like Columbo, where it just comes up with these kind of raw.
It's got like the small little writing underneath.
Yes, exactly. Yep, it's got like the Roman numeral.
So it's trying to feel like it's an old like 70s style, but not on the nose.
Yeah. Like, it's got beautiful cinematography, and the color grading is more modern, but like and so it also has a little bit of the Rockford Files in it. It reminds me a lot of the Rockford Files. Okay. Like, in this show, she's kind of a loser sort of waitress lady, and she lives in this trailer out in the middle of the desert, kind of like the way Jim did with his like trailer by the beach. And so it's just cool. Like, she lives in this trailer, she kind of hangs out with these kind of group of weirdos, and she can tell when someone is lying, and she ends up cracking the case just as like, she's just a waitress. She's not like a detective or a cop or anything. And then she has to kind of leave town. But yeah, so like the credits look great. The music is kind of cool like that. And because it's shot in a casino, like, it looks like they shot it probably, I could look this up, but they shot it in some old casino, like somewhere in the old part of Vegas or something.
Yeah.
Has that kind of timeless kind of 60s, 70s look to it,
Huh.
Whereas like modern casinos, you can tell like that was clearly made.
And,
right. And one thing that's important about this show and how it got made was Ryan Johnson made the show. It's so cool that he kind of came up with this idea. Him and Tosh Leone kind of said, we should make Columbo. You know what's cool? Columbo's cool. Let's do that. And I think getting his name behind it and his creativity behind it, I mean, it looks like it has those cool Ryan Johnson push-ins that he does a lot, where he kind of identifies one thing and kind of shoves into it more and does that slow, cool thing. It really matches the kind of the retro vibe of the show. And so Ryan Johnson, great job. Poker Face, great show on Peacock. Check it out.
You're getting me to buy all these apps. I mean, like,
right?
What did I just get for something? Oh, what's Tulsa King on?
Paramount Plus, man.
I got that because he is a stop.
Yeah.
I hope you're getting a kickback.
I got to get my beak wet on this. I'm getting like I should get a finder's fee or a seller's fee or something. I'm like one of those guys at the kiosk at the mall selling cell phones.
Right. Yeah, that's where I saw you.
Yeah. Hey, you got a cell phone? Come here, buddy. I got a deal for you. But yeah, so a great show. Todd, I would love to know what is happening on your corner.
Okay, mine's a little out of nowhere kind of subject, but
all right, let's go.
Something a little unusual. Since we're kind of talking about monster themes, one of my favorite monster movies as a kid was the original King Kong, 1933 version. I learned about stop motion, then when I was 10 or whatever, or I wasn't 10. I was younger, but then I remember in 1976. They were remaking King Kong. Now, in my little Todd head back then, I don't remember ever a movie being remade,
Yeah, right, yeah, okay.
So when Kong came out, I was so excited about it. And it, to me, is my favorite of all the King Kongs. I fast forward to when in 2005, when Peter Jackson was going to do King Kong. Dude, I was so excited about that because I loved Lord of the Rings. I loved everything he did with it. And to think, you're taking my favorite movie and you're going to redo it Peter Jackson style. This is going to be great. Now, I enjoyed it, but there are things in it that don't need to be in it. I re-edited the film. I do what's called Todd edits. I've got several Todd edits.
Wait, what? I don't even know about this.
Yeah, I re-edit films. So I got rid of like all that subplot with the captain and the kid. Yeah. That's so not needed. What were you doing? You made the film so bloated. I cut out a lot of the hooiness of it. And over time, I've gotten to be disappointed with that film. I enjoyed it, like I said, when it came out, and I'll watch it from time to time, but it's just not as good as the 1976 version of King Kong.
Well, even though the technology was clearly more advanced in the 2000s,
2005,
yeah. I mean, I think that the 76 one and clearly the 33 one looked better. I mean, like the 33 one was groundbreaking. I mean, you can pick it apart now as like, look at the toys or whatever. But that came out, people were screaming and running,
Yeah, well, because they had never seen anything like that before.
Right. And with the remake, which I saw in the theater as a teeny little kid too, I was like, this is amazing. And I remember it was also the first movie I ever saw, I believe this is accurate, had an intermission.
Oh, that sounds familiar.
Yeah, it had like an intermission. I was like, wait, what? And it would stop and I had to go out and I was with my grandma or mom or whatever.
To pee now?
Yeah, I can go get popcorn again. Let's go.
I just got back. I could have waited a few minutes.
Yeah, so I don't know, but I remember
familiar.
that. Yeah.
I just enjoyed. I still enjoy that film. The thing about that film is it feels more organic than the other two. The first one, is clearly, when you watch it now, it's very dated. Clearly the 33 one, and everybody talks like this. It's all.
Yeah,
it's
see,
all
we got to go get that giant
gorilla to to film where they have to all be overemphasize every single word. But I think, and then the Peter Jackson's one, it's too flashy, and they're doing way too much camera movements, and you're showing the beast way too much. And again, in this one, because this in the
and that also there's like a CGI fur problem that still exists to this day.
There's a lot of things wrong with the film. I mean, if you watch Naomi Watts's dress, it's constantly dirty, clean, dirty, clean, dirty, clean. I mean, she'll slide down clearly a muddy mountainside, and there's not a spot on her. And it's like,
the continuity director, please report to the firing line.
All that against green screen. You know, I just think that, you know, they don't think about some of this stuff sometimes, and it's, I don't know, there's a lot of like hokey things in that. The other thing about, I loved watching all the documentaries. I don't know if you remember when the 2001, 2005 version came out, there was a lot of Peter Jackson, like diaries that were put out on the, you know, infantile internet. And it was cool because he would, like, every so week he had like a little progress diary of what they're doing on the film. Then when the box set came, I have the box set too, this really cool box set of it. And they got all the diaries on there. He keeps talking about his love for the 1933 version, and he's never talking about the 76 version. And I get the 76 version looks a little hokey it's a guy obviously in a suit many times. I get it, but there was not that love affair between Fay Wray and Kong. It does not exist. She never feels sorry for the beast ever in that film, but it's definitely a theme in the 76 version.
Yeah, Jessica Lange, like, she's like gets that he's like a living being, and
and she's almost protective of him when the helicopters come to shoot him down in the World Trade Center.
Very much back to some of the themes of Nope, with like the animal cruelty and the animal, like, you know, using them.
Yeah, you can't control it. You can't control. And so I just love how the 76 version plays out. It's just, there's just, it feels like the acting is more natural. They're not trying to be silly. The whole Adrian Brody, not so much Adrian Brody, but the one actor in the 2005 version, you know, he's almost like the comic relief at points. And like, so is Jack Black's character too, is kind of this comic relief thing at times. Not overly silly, but there is kind of a sillier factor in that, where the 1976 version, it plays it really straight and plays it pretty serious.
Yeah,
I think there is a real beast in, you know, running the streets of New York.
There's a scene in the 2005 one with Jack Black, which I'm not even sure why he's in that movie. I say that I love Jack Black and I love Tenacious D, but I don't understand why he's in half the movies he's in. No offense to him, he seems like a cool guy and
great guy.
I love, and I love a lot of the stuff he does, but I just don't get why he's in some of these movies.
Yeah.
I mean, School of Rock is perfect. That's like his thing. But anyway, there's a scene where he and another character are like running from flying rubble, and they're like running, and like it is so fake looking, and so like they're running in place, looking at like something projected on us. I'm like, how did this make it to a Hollywood production? Like, it's so bad.
It's edited out of mine, just so you know.
Good, because nice move. Because it's like, it's so, and it's bad. I'm like, I remember it being in the theater 2005 and being like, what was that?
I know,
like,
it's just, well, they're running with all those dinosaurs. It was a pack of
that's it.
Dinosaurs.
That's it.
It's so dumb, and like they're like running in between the legs. I mean, what is going on? Who thought
they're like literally running in place? Like,
no, it's so dumb. It's horrible.
Well,
another thing though I really liked about I was talking about the documentary is Peter Jackson in this documentary. He actually went to the top, the very, very tippy top of the Empire State Building. He wanted to experience that. He didn't go out like where our characters are on the roof of it. But he went in places that no one is allowed to go. They have the observation deck, but he went all the way up to the top, and there's like a little door he had to go through. And it was actually, I don't like heights. I mean, I don't mind being in an elevated state. I just don't like looking over a ledge, you know, kind of thing. Like that gets me.
I'm with you. Yep.
Yeah, and in watching this little documentary, I felt that feeling.
You felt that pull, that weird thing. I know what you mean.
Man, that's such a weird thing. But yeah, the 76 version. You know, another thing about I like it even still is the Twin Towers are there. You know,
yeah.
I mean,
did you ever go to the Twin Towers?
I never got to. No.
When I was a kid, my grandpa and we had a family member visiting from Europe. My grandma's French, and she came and we went on tour we went to Niagara Falls and New York City and stuff. And we went to the top of the wow. World Trade Center, which is weird to think about when you know what I mean? It's like being in a plane that crashed or something later, you know, it's just weird. But anyway,
as a side note, did you ever see the movie The Walk? With the guy.
Yes.
Yeah. That.
No way, dude. That's like, I'm with you on the heights thing. I'm like,
I don't get, I mean, that's a fascinating movie in itself. There's a documentary about that guy too. Super fascinating. But I love that movie. It's, as I talk about it, I feel like I should watch it again today.
Yeah, man. I'm getting that feeling too.
I just love that film. So
when it came out, it was such a big deal too. You and I talked about this before we started recording, like, in the local newspaper here, they gave away a free iron-on T-shirt.
I remember.
King Kong, and you could pull the iron-on out of the newspaper and then literally iron it on your shirt and make a T-shirt.
I wonder if it's out there somewhere on the net.
I bet if we eBay it, you'll find it. But
you're right.
Yeah. Anyway,
that's
cool, man. That was a good corner. That was a good walk down King Kong Lane there. That was awesome.
It did tie in, like you said.
Much better than my poker face thing did.
Well,
you did a good job.
Face, the monkey did punch the lady in the face, so he was kind of poking her face.
Okay. All right. Well, that's, Get out of here. All right. Well, Todd, great job as always. Awesome to see you.
You too.
We knocked down another one. I believe this is episode number 8.
8.
And so we're going for, on our 10th episode, we're going to have it nailed, buddy. Perfect.
Are. And just so you know, people, we do plan this stuff in advance. We have a couple of shows that we have planned. Some of the content we're excited about. There is a future Star Wars one coming up.
That's going to be a monster right there. That's going to be an
maybe
honor.
That's our 10th episode, so we can kind of
we better hurry up. Mando's coming, man.
It's coming. So, all right.
All right, cool. Well, for Todd Stanton, my name is Eric Oblander. Until next time, the Media Tavern is closed, so get the hell out of here. We'll see you later.
Goodbye.